If you're in a situation where you have to keep contact with a narcissist or a highly narcissistic person, you're going to quickly realize that boundaries are your best friend, because these people tend to abuse by trampling boundaries. So if you keep your boundaries strong, then you have a good chance to walk away from it unscathed. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to keep those boundaries strong with 5 tips for keeping your boundaries strong with a narcissist. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and on this channel we talk about narcissistic abuse, its connection with spirituality, and we attempt to answer the question, where do we go from here? So if that all sounds good, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I post new videos. So today, again, we're talking about boundaries. And why do we talk about boundaries so much? Because they're so important. Boundaries are important in every single relationship we have, whether it's a parent and a child, whether it is an empath and a narcissist, whether it's an employee and a coworker relationship or a boss relationship. Boundaries are always important. And the way you enforce them may be different depending on who you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with somebody who is very likely to trample those boundaries and completely disrespect you and your desire to set boundaries, you may have to be a little bit more firm. So in this video, we're talking about 5 ways to set and keep boundaries with a narcissist or another highly narcissistic person. So my first tip for you is to let go of that need to justify yourself. And this is hard for a lot of us because we feel like if somebody's challenging us, we feel like we have to justify our actions or our words. Well, I said that because of this. And when somebody's taking your actions or words out of context, you feel like you have to set them straight. But here's the thing. If you're dealing with a narcissist, what you're dealing with here is bait. You're being baited into an argument with that person. They are purposely taking your actions or your words out of context because they know it's going to upset you and they know they're going to get a reaction from you. So go into this knowing that you're not going to take the bait and you do not have to justify yourself, your actions, or your words to anyone, especially not someone you've decided you don't want in your life anymore. Sometimes we may be in situations where we do really want to justify ourselves. Somebody maybe just earnestly misunderstands our intentions and you want to set them straight. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, when you're dealing with not even just a narcissist, but somebody who has already made their mind up about you, going out of your way to justify your actions or words, it's not really going to do anything except make you look worse to that person. What we have to tell ourselves and remind ourselves is that if you have nothing to defend yourself against, you shouldn't be defending yourself, because the act of defending yourself makes you look like you have something to defend. So the second tip I have for you is to set clear rules for the conversation and speak them aloud. Tell this person exactly what you expect to happen in this conversation. Now, this could be an outcome that you expect to get out of the conversation. If you're dealing with somebody you don't really want to talk to in the first place, this can help keep the conversation short and concise. So if that person starts to stray off topic, you can say, hey, here is our goal. Let's get back to that goal. Let's shift the conversation back to where we are accomplishing this goal so we can end the conversation. Now, this could also be setting rules about how that person's going to interact with you. So, hey, listen, if you call me any names, this conversation's over. Now, when you set boundaries like this in the beginning of a conversation, expect pushback, especially if you're dealing with a narcissist. Now, they might blame you and say, well, it's your fault. We need these rules anyway. You're the one who always does this and this. Or they might play the victim, like, oh, I don't understand why you're treating me this way. Or they might make fun of you and say you're being too sensitive. They're going to push back on your boundaries in one way or another, but just hold strong, because this is your defense. Think of their pushback as they're trying to weaken your defense. Don't let them do it. Don't let any of those tactics work. Because if they come forward with any of those tactics, you know that they're threatened, and that's kind of a good thing for you in this situation, because you're taking away all their tools that they would use to hurt you or abuse you. So the third tip I have for setting boundaries with a narcissist is to tell yourself before you even go into this conversation, it's okay to walk away. Now, you may know this on some level, but it might be good to remind yourself, because I think as people, we're social beings, and we worry about being rude. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want to look like a jerk, So if somebody's in the middle of a sentence, it's very difficult to walk away, no matter who that person is. And depending on your level of people pleasing, it might be even more difficult. It might be near impossible. But remind yourself that it's okay to walk away. And a lot of times it's really the best thing you can do, especially if it gets to a point where you feel like you're going to start engaging and you're going to let the boundaries come down. You're going to put the gloves on, and the conversation's really just going in a bad direction. This is going to be probably your only defense. So just keep it in your back pocket. You can walk away whenever you want. If things are getting to a point where it just feels unhealthy, it's okay to walk away. And you can say something like, okay, this isn't going in a good direction. Let's end this conversation and we'll pick it up again later. I have to go. So the fourth tip I have for you is you're going to want to become a bit of a ninja when it comes to dodging questions and comments. And this is something that narcissists are really good at. And you'll see a lot of times politicians are excellent at it. They often employ that word salad technique, to where they will answer the question, but they're not really answering the question. And I mean, you can go ahead and do that if you're comfortable with that, if you feel okay with it. Some people don't like to do that because they know how infuriating that technique is to begin with, and it totally is. But if somebody says something that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can let them know that you do not want to continue that line of conversation, or you can just change the subject like that. They might say something like, oh, hey, did you know Martha got a nose job? And your response, I heard it was going to rain tomorrow. Do you think it's going to rain tomorrow? I'm not sure if I should bring my umbrella. It just completely change the subject, however it looks like for you. And they may call you out on it, but the beauty of changing the subject is that you have something else to go to. And after a while, if you just keep changing the subjects, if you keep shutting them down, they're not going to keep bringing up the things that you're not going to talk about, because they're going to continue being met with rejection, and narcissists don't handle rejection very well. And the fifth tip I have for you is to not underestimate your opponent in this conversation. And when you're talking to a narcissist, every conversation can be kind of like a war zone. And especially if you're in a situation where you've identified that somebody is a narcissist and you have to talk to them for some reason. Oftentimes when people are in these situations, they have children together or they're in the same family, and they end up having to have certain conversations. So if you're in this position, understand that even if this person is playing nice, and especially if they're trying to pin you against someone else, no matter what it is, don't let your guard down to the point where you actually start talking to this person like they're a friend. Because if they've hurt you before, there's a good chance they're gonna do it again. And they might just be probing you for information they could use against you, or they might actually be trying to pin you against someone else. Remember that you already know who you're dealing with, and you already know what they're capable of, more or less. So just assume in every conversation that you absolutely have to have with this person that they're going to do all the things that they've done before. So don't let your guard down to the point where you feel so comfortable that they can hurt you. It is possible to have a conversation with a narcissist if you have to discuss something with somebody who has hurt you before, somebody who's been emotionally abusive to you before. It is possible to have conversations and to keep them on task, but it's not necessarily easy. So that's why I wanted to give you a few tips to help those of you who have to deal with narcissists in your life. So if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. And if you'd like to see more like it, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.